you know, I'm gonna have to admit ignorance on monetary value for this particular block.
It's just so rare. You just have to.
Yeah.
So you paid the auction if you want.
You paid 130 for this game and a broken one,
and a broken system, and an extra game. It was the Reversey, which seems like it's the most common game.
So basically, what we know then is what we can be pretty sure of is that the price that you pay is probably for that game. You know, like anybody who's going to be buying that game, they probably already have a system. They don't need a broken one. They probably already have Reversey, right? So in Japan or on a Japanese auction, you can figure that's about $130, right?
And that's for the rarest, and that's the last run game, so you know that's probably the high price of that considering these other games.
Yep.
So
they're not vintage.
The batteries bring it down. Don't you have the batteries?
I've seen some people with like the original batteries and like with all the inserts and the case and everything. I don't know how much they paid, but I've seen some people with that.
So, you guys have any opinions?
You know, just in general to say that bringing things back from Japan to the U.S. will very often increase their value because the supply here of Japanese video games is so much lower.
I mean, just right now it's increasing in value because of awareness. Suddenly, there's probably a lot of people out there like, whoa,
Because there's a lot more like books and websites and things devoted to obscurity.
I mean, how many people right now are on eBay looking for a game copy?
Well, one thing. I mean, how many people have ever considered potentially before this panel buying a pocket computer by Epic? I see one hand.
Okay.
So basically, there's another guy. So basically, what that tells you is, you know, the demand for this is actually
there was just a couple of auctions like a couple months ago. A loose one went for 200 and a box one went for 160. Like a couple months later.
Yeah.
And again, that's the increase on eBay.
There are handheld collectors out there. You know, there's a lot of guys like you who just love collecting all manner of handheld video gaming systems. So that's actually good because eventually they get everything that come out of America, so they have to start going into other territories. So you know, it is definitely it's its own kind of interesting subcategory of collecting. But in the end, it's a few people kind of fighting over a few things. But it is a really cool piece, and we appreciate it very much.
So thanks a lot. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, who's Blake?
Blake Fisher.
Blake Fisher. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Blake Fisher. Why don't you come up?
Yeah.
Now, we've known Blake for a while, and he's been collecting for a very long time. He's a good friend of ours. And we asked him early on, like, well, what do you have? What's some crazy things you have that maybe some people here haven't even seen before? And he happens to have a lot of things that people haven't seen before.
He has a boxed file.
Nobody's seen this.
There are people in this audience who have never seen one of those.
That is probably true. So
high density.
Blake is a collector, and we didn't really want to appraise this stuff so much as just kind of show it off, because I like looking at cool old crap, and I would imagine you guys do too.
Ew.
So no one wants that. No one wants to see cool. Nobody wants to see cool. Let's get more Zelda-ness. All right, you want to tell us what we're looking at
This
here?
first one, this is actually, I picked up another collection where the guy picked these up in a Silicon Valley surplus store. And they are Atari 2600 review ROMs that were shipped out to reviewers. That's what the red dot means, I believe. There's different versions of ROMs out there, and they have different colored dots. And I think the red ones are reviewed.
And you haven't tried these yet, right?
One of them was tested before my EEPROM cart died, which I haven't cleaned, so I should do that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Interesting, one of them has no label, so it's kind of exciting.
It could be anything.
And one of them says Starship 2, which there is a Starship, so I don't know if it's a different ROM or
what often happens is they may have actually created another space game that was Starship 2 and now it came out as a different name.
Star Raiders maybe.
Yeah, just Star Raiders.
But it's different.
So the way it would work is the reviewer would have an Atari 2600 cartridge with kind of a blank, I don't know what you call it, like a clippy thing.
EEPROM socket.
EEPROM socket, yeah. And you would just kind of pop these right in there and then play the game. These are very cool, and I want to know what's on the mystery ROM very badly.
Yeah.
Someday Michael will hook me up with the EEPROM reader. We'll check it out.
In the mail in a week.
So these things, you know, these are what you call kind of high-level collector pieces. So, you know, this is going beyond collecting things you find in stores, and this is collecting things that you're So we've notified the Atari. They're going to reclaim their property.
Nolan is on his way now.
Because the thing about these review games, and Chris and I, and even Mike, have professionally reviewed games, you're not supposed to keep the review copies.
You're supposed to destroy or send back.
Yeah. So for review copies from the Atari era to survive is kind of miraculous.
Yeah.
So these are very cool pieces.
Oh man, what else do you have?
I have two other things. The first, this is probably my pride and joy of my collection, which is something. So many of you. In existence of PC Junior Mule.
Yeah. PC Junior was very early, maybe the first IBM home computer.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't know, how many of you have heard of IBM? How many of you have heard of Electronic Arts? This is kind of where both those things started. But yeah, go ahead and, like you said.
So this was so I just had my 15th year eBay anniversary according to some email. I don't know what they want me to do, but they sent me an email saying I've been there. This search went on for 12 years. Right when I started eBay, I read about it on some website that PC Junior version existed as a rumor. So I just set up a search. And then 2 years ago, there was a hit on the search for the first time. It showed up. There was no picture. It was running about $90. I put a snipe in for a great deal more, figuring that if it was real, I was going to get it. Ended up buying it for $300, and it's still the only one I've ever seen. There's a scan. Someone did drop a scan on the internet of the label that I know is accurate now because it's the same label. So someone else has one, but no one knows who that person is, and his email doesn't work.
And this is the kind of item that maybe not that many people are aware of, and there might not be, a lot of people looking for this. But as far as a historical artifact or video game history, like this is just a beauty.
Incredible condition.
Got the mule shirt on today, right?
Yeah. You want to show that?
Box from your field.
Yeah, mule.
It's my favorite game. So I have every version of Mule that's been released in the U.S., including all the bootlegs, and then.
And now, finally, you got
Well, I need to get the X68000 version of it. No, PC98, PC88 version.
Okay.
For Japan.
And now this is the craziest thing.
Yeah, this is.
This is.
So that was
this other stuff is
This is the last thing I have. So this is another search that I've been looking for forever. There's a Capcom power system changer. Again, I've never seen one in the box. I saw one on eBay for $1,000 loose about 6 years ago, and that's the only time I've ever seen one for sale. Open it up, check it out. Yeah, please. This one.
What am I squashing here?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. They made things to last back then. So this is the view good here. Okay.
I'm excited. I have no idea what this is.
So essentially, when Neo Geo got popular, Capcom wanted to make a Neo Geo in Japan, as we understand it. Now, all my information is secondhand, because even Capcom people have no idea.
You might recognize those ports.
Yeah, these are Super Nintendo controller ports. So the idea here was that you could get ROMs of the authentic arcade games. So you could get the arcade version of Street Fighter 2, pop in a cartridge here, and play it for real rather than the Super Nintendo version of it.
It's actually a very close modification of the CPS-1 board, which is a big, I don't know if you guys seen it, a big gray board about this big, plastic, so it would slide on top of it. But I have, to this date, never seen one of these versions for this system, just the real CPS.
So you can't actually do anything.
No, I plug a JAMA board into it. I've tested it, it works.
So it's like a super gun, essentially.
It is, with a weird inverted JAMA port, so you have to adapt.
So is this the only Capcom home console ever?
Yeah, I would say so.
And so you basically just plug that in and plug it into your TV and put Super Nintendo controllers in it.
And you're playing arcade games, yeah. You would have been the coolest kid.
All those Neo Geo guys are all prancing around and they're highfalutin ways. This would have been awesome. They have to counter that.
You want to come over and play real Street Fighter 2?
It's weird we found it in the store completely on accident.
Oh yeah, this is a good story.
So I set up a circuit in Akihabara, I'm sure Chris has as well, where you know all the stores when they open, where you're going to go. This is an arcade store that's hidden around a corner by the Euro place, Star Kebab, which is delicious. And
okay. I know that one. I know the back kebab place.
It's up the second floor, unlabeled arcade store. And I brought friends to show how cool this arcade store, and I moaned about how I'm just going to find a CPS changer someday. He goes, isn't that it on the store shelf right there? I ended up 8 years of looking. And, than it was, and it was $100.
Oh my God.
Video online, so expect offers from my. Yeah, thank you. That was really awesome. So let's get Berkwin R up here. We're fast running out of time. Berkwin R will be our final guest. Unfortunately, we are totally out of time. However, if you still have stuff with you and you're kind of wondering, like, you know,
I've got no plans after this.
Exactly. We'll hang around for as long as we possibly can until PAX kicks us out of whatever area we're standing in, and we will definitely talk to you. So, finally,
does anyone in this room have D batteries? Mike, you saw this earlier. I don't need to.
Yeah, here's a probably familiar with Pac-Man, Coleco, tabletop, and
they might not be.
How many people are familiar with these old? Yeah, that's a pretty good show of hands. They've done a large run of some of the classic arcade games. You had Zaxxon, you had Pac-Man, there's Miss Pac-Man, Frogger.
Did they do the Donkey Kong one? Or was that something else?
Yeah, there's Donkey Kong. Yeah. These are interesting because they're built pretty well, but not great. So over time, even just age causes them to kind of fall out of working condition. That's why we're asking for the batteries. Because what will often happen is the array of the screen itself, certain rows or columns might actually just stop working. And they're very hard to repair. It's almost impossible beyond that point. Sometimes you can shake it around like Fonzie and hit it on a table and start.
They're like calculator screens.
They're basically calculator screens with some color.
So it worked last time you played it? Yeah. All of the LEDs lit up?
And some of the other thing that happens, a lot of people actually lovingly refer to it as active black, because the Activision cartridge labels would get this like, kind of weird black specular pattern all over it. That happens a lot on these games. How's that looking, Frank? Is there this like up yourselves? Yeah, like the actual labels, the white label will often have this really crazy pattern on it over. Like,
I don't think it's sticking up, but there's definitely some active black out there. There you go.
This is a hard thing to avoid. Some people have managed to have one that survives this disease that a lot of these things have, but it's very rare to find it. So it's like it doesn't really bring the price down that much. People just expect it to be there.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. You weren't smoking around it or anything stuff. It just happens.
So this is your actual childhood toy.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So you know the original buyer.
You know the original buyer right here. Do you have the box or manual or anything like that?
No, it's been sitting on my shelf for a while.
But you did have the battery door, right?
The battery door's on.
Yeah, that's great. Very important.
Yeah, those go missing somehow, and no real corrosion.
Yeah, it's not all gross inside there. Always do that. If you're gonna buy, especially what you can sometimes forget about is if you see a Pong machine, you know, an original like Atari home Pong or whatever in a thrift store, and it's like, oh, it's $10, it's great, and it probably is a really good deal. But the Pong machines, a lot of them, even though they used AC adapters, you know, they also had battery slots.
Open it up.
Open it.
Look.
Open that.
You don't want to bring it home.
The last thing you want to do is to open it up and it still has the original 1970s vintage batteries inside, and they've all corroded, and it's disgusting because it destroys the inside of the machine.
Pretty much. It's reparable, but don't ever expect to get much for it. That's the first thing everybody looks at.
Yep.
So it devalues it completely.
Again, we can't investigate this completely, but assuming it's running really well, I think we kind of determined before the show it went to 100.
That's about right. Yeah, 900, the condition it's in with the battery case. There's a lot of people out there. Actually, this is pretty interesting. About 3 years ago, somebody found a whole surplus of boxes.
Just the boxes.
Just the boxes, flat, not formed, or anything like that. So there's a chance you could actually find that online. A lot of people were selling them. They went as cheap as $5. They put the boxes together, and then what's left now is the manual.
And the foam, right?
Yeah, the foam.
Your foam inside the box. That's gonna be tougher.
I love old school Pac-Man interpretation.
The reason why and the reason why this goes for so much is because it looks like the arcade machine. You know, it's a really cool thing.
No, I mean, it was on your shelf. I mean, literally, like, you just had it on your shelf because it is just a gorgeous little piece.
It is. People love these things. So yeah, if you, again, more gold that might be in your attic. If you were a kid and you had these in the 80s, these are going for big bucks.
Yeah, the box is in great condition. It's $250 to $300.
Yeah. Sorry.
The box is in great condition, like $250 to $300 for something like this.
For a full complete.
For a full complete.
Is Pac-Man the most valuable?
No, I would say there's a good question. It's probably like Zaxxon or the later one.
Yeah,
one of the people that actually buy.
Yeah, Donkey Kong is kind of hard to find too. Well, anyway, folks, we really
Should we try to
appreciate you all coming out here.
one more up? Or
We don't have time.
We don't.
Yeah, unfortunately. But no, again, very sorry that we couldn't get to you all. We will be hanging around, so please do come up and talk to us. But thank you all very, very much.